This is part 3 of the 6.07 lesson. So we'll start here with the story problem that I left off. If an astronaut exhales 20 moles of carbon dioxide per day, how many grams of lithium hydroxide will be needed to remove it from the spacecraft? So again, always start with what you're given. So 20 moles carbon dioxide. Put it over 1. What has to be on the bottom of my next fraction? Well, remember, we always want things to cancel, and so it's going to be moles of CO2. And we want to be more specific now, not just write moles, but moles specifically of CO2, because we're going to be going back and forth between different chemicals. All right, so what do we want to change into? We want to end up with grams of lithium hydroxide. So we have moles of carbon dioxide and we want to go to lithium hydroxide. What's our magic conversion? Well, it's moles and it is lithium hydroxide. And so now we look and we say, okay, what numbers am I going to put in here? What number goes on the top? It's going to be a 2. What number goes on the bottom? It's going to be a 1. Where did I get those from? From my coefficients. My 2 went here, and my 1 went down there. That's my mole ratio. So now I can make my next fraction. What has to be on the bottom of my next fraction has to be moles of lithium hydroxide, because that way they will cancel off. And so I look, what am I trying to get? What's the unit of my final answer? It's grams of lithium hydroxide. Okay, so in 1 mole, how many grams do I have? Well, I have 1 lithium, which is 7. I have 1 hydrogen, which is 1, and 1 oxygen, which is 16, which gives me an answer of 24. And then I look, my final unit is grams of lithium hydroxide, and that's what I wanted, grams of lithium hydroxide. So I put it in my calculator. I put in 20 times 2 times 24, and I get 960. But we want to write what it is, 960 grams of lithium hydroxide. All right, so again, if I were you, I would take a screenshot of this, or hopefully you wrote it all down, because that's going to help you remember it better, and add it to your notes. Hit pause if you need to, and then we'll go to the next one. So I have a different equation now. I have lithium perchlorate as a solid yields 2 dioxides as a gas plus lithium chloride as a solid. If you have 500 grams of lithium perchlorate, then how many liters of oxygen will it make, assuming STP? So when I get these, honestly, I just go. I don't sit there and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to get this? What? No. I just start and I write down the first thing. All right, 500 grams lithium ClO4. I make it a fraction, put it over 1. I say, okay, what has to be on the bottom of my next fraction? Has to be grams of lithium perchlorate, and then I stop. When I get this far, that's when I actually stop and I look again. And I say, okay, what am I going to? I'm going to liters, but I want to get into oxygen. Okay, oxygen. I need to get to a different chemical. So if I need to get to a different chemical, what do I have to use? I have to use my magic moles. Well, first I have to get to moles of what I have. So moles of lithium perchlorate. And so to get the moles of lithium perchlorate, then I need to, again, find out how many grams there are. So I have 1 lithium, so that's 7. I have a chlorine. And I'm going to pause there because actually I haven't been doing the best job in teaching you this stuff, in that really you shouldn't always round to whole numbers. You should actually keep it to hundredths to be more precise. I know even in the lessons they round it to whole numbers, but at least stay to tenths. Okay, so let's be a little bit more precise because that's going to mess up your answers if you're not. So All right, we'll go 6.94 for lithium, plus I have 1 chlorine, so 35.45. And the reason I really kind of stop now is because if you look at chlorine, it's almost 35.5. So it's good to go to hundredths. And oxygen, however, rounds up. So it's 16.00. And times what? What do I have to multiply by for my oxygen? 4. Why? Because of the subscript right here that tells me that there are 4 of them. So I have to multiply by 4. And when you put it in your calculator, make sure you are being careful in that you're only multiplying the 16 by 4. So if you have parentheses on your calculator, I would do that. If you don't, just do that one first. So 16 times 4 plus 35.45 plus 6.94 gives us 106.39. All right. So 106.39 grams of lithium perchlorate. All right, let's go back to our fractions. And before I even put much thought in, I say, okay, what has to go on the bottom of my next fraction? Moles of lithium perchlorate. All right. So again, whenever you get stuck doing these, try converting to moles. That's like the magic fix-it in chemistry. Okay, and what am I trying to go to? Oxygen. All right, so again, the magic of the mole. So moles of oxygen, and it's O2. And so I look, how many are there? Well, now I have my mole ratio, so I have to look at my equation, and I look at the coefficients. And so for every 1 lithium perchlorate, how many oxygen molecules are made? 2. All right. Now I make my next fraction. And what has to go on the bottom of my next fraction? I'll do a little bit of canceling to double check. I canceled out all that. So it has to be moles of O2. And what am I trying to get? I'm trying to get liters of O2. And it's at STP. So do you remember what that number is? For every one mole, I have how many liters of any gas? 22.4. So at that point, you can get out your calculator again. All right, so I put in everything that's across the top. So 500 times 1 times 2 times 22.4 divided by what's on the bottom, 106.39. And my answer is 210.55. So 210.55 what? You should always have units when you are working in chemistry. And we double check up here yep, that's what I wanted. And so my answer is 210.55 liters of oxygen. Again, do screenshots, get it in your notes, hit pause. When you're ready, go to the next problem. You need to make 360 grams of lithium hydroxide. How many grams of lithium nitride are required? Assume you have excess water. All right, so first thing I do, I write down what they give me before I do anything else. I make it into a fraction. Again, hit pause. Try doing this on your own and then go through it and make sure that you know how to do these. Okay, what goes on the bottom of this fraction? Grams of lithium hydroxide. I get that crossed off. And then I stop and I say, okay, what am I going to? I'm going to grams of lithium nitride. So that's this one. And they gave me this one. All right, so I have to switch chemicals. How do I switch chemicals? The magic of the mole. So I have to start out with moles of the thing I have. So 1 mole of lithium hydroxide is how many grams? Well, let's add it up. I have 1 lithium, 1 hydrogen, and 1 oxygen. So oxygen plus a lithium plus a hydrogen is 23.95. Right, 23.95. Again, going to hundredths is just much better. You're going to get more accurate answers, and especially in college, it's going to help you a lot more. All right, so what has to go on the bottom of my next fraction? Moles lithium hydroxide. And what am I going to? Well, I went lithium nitride. Okay, and how do I convert from one chemical to the next? The magic of the mole. All right, and now how many moles of each? All right, so now I look at my balanced equation, and we have lithium nitride and lithium hydroxide. Which number goes on the top? The 1. Which number goes on the bottom? The 3, because there's 3 lithium hydroxides produced for every 1 lithium nitride. All right, I make my next fraction. And what has to go on the bottom of my next fraction? It has to be moles of lithium nitride. And what goes on the top? All right, what am I trying to get to for my final answer? Grams. And so I'm going to go ahead and put grams of lithium nitride. And in 1 mole, how many grams are there? Well, let's see. There's 3 lithiums. So I'm going to have 3 times 6.94 plus 1 nitrogen. And nitrogen weighs 14.01. How did I know that? I looked it up on the periodic table. So I put those in my calculator, again, being careful with my multiplication sign to make sure I multiply only the lithium. And I get 34.83. So 34.83. Cross off my moles, and then I check. Grams of lithium nitride. That's what I want for my answer. So I put it all in my calculator. I put in 360 times 34.83 divided by 23.95 divided by 3. And our answer is 174.51. 174.51 what? What's my unit? Grams of lithium nitride. So again, take a screenshot, hit pause, whatever you need to do to get that in your notes. And then the last thing for your notes is actually the last slide. Just to review, chemists use mole and equations to determine the amounts of reactants or products they require. Step 1, balance the given chemical equation. Step 2, find the appropriate mole ratio. Step 3, convert the given quantity to moles. Step 4, use the given molar quantity and the mole ratio to find moles of the unknown quantity. Step 5, convert the moles of the unknown quantity to the desired units. What's our key point here? Moles. It's all about the magic of the moles. Anytime you get stuck, convert to moles. Anytime you want to go from one chemical to another, convert to moles. So amount of chemicals found by using conversion factors or fractions, found by relating mole volume relationships, chemical equations, and molar mass. As always, practice, 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 and let me know when you need help.